Lucky for us, we can lower our anxiety and control the way that we think. And here are some tips to help you take back control of your life, feel more confident, and lower that anxiety. By the way, these tips are not something that I made up last night. There's a lot of research behind them, so they're all evidence-based. Stay away from the news. Don't listen to the news constantly, because it's always fairly negative, the news, and it just feeds our anxiety. Also, if you've got some ideas or you're feeling anxious about something specifically, check out those thoughts. Do some fact checking. Go to reputable sites. Look at original documents. Even see the press conference or whatever it was that the information came from. Don't just take it from social media or people chatting in the studio. Number two could be distract yourself. Our minds tend to not be able to hold a couple of thoughts at once. We think it does, but it doesn't. These tend to work one after the other. So the next time you get an anxious thought and it comes into your mind, do something different. Distract yourself. Focus on a project, a hobby, watch a film, have a shower, go for a walk, whatever it might be. Take yourself away from that situation where you were thinking of that anxiety, that anxious thought. You know, when you concentrate on something, you get involved in something, then you don't tend to think about other things. It's the same idea. But if you tell yourself, I shouldn't be thinking like this, don't think about this thought, I shouldn't be anxious, whatever it might be. Well, have you ever tried that thing that, if I say to you, don't think about pink elephants, what's the thing you think of? So distract yourself. It's far more effective than trying to force yourself not to be anxious. Limit the amount of alcohol and caffeine you have during the day. They can increase our anxiety. Talk to someone and then take some action. Talk to someone you trust. But don't keep just telling them how anxious you are. So go into a bit of detail why it is that you feel anxious. What are the trigger points, etc. What is it that makes you feel anxious? Tell them why, have a conversation. Remember, it's okay to feel anxious. We all do, we're human. But the person you're talking to, they might also feel anxious. This is what's called the 3-3-3 rule. Okay? So when you're feeling a bit anxious or your mind's starting to race, look around you and name 3 things that you see. Now that's all it is. Just look around you and name 3 things that you can see. And then name 3 sounds that you can hear. And finally, 3 parts of your body that you can move. And whenever you feel your brain racing, as I said, this wee trick can be very helpful in bringing you back into the present moment where you feel less anxious. Breathing. Now I know we all breathe, but sometimes we need to practice it. It's nature's way of helping us to feel less anxious. Now there's many techniques for breathing. I won't go into any of them, and nearly all of them are really good. But the simplest way to just do it, perhaps the basic way, is just take a deep breath in and just slowly breathe out. And do that 3 or 4 times. Just practice it. So when you're feeling a bit anxious, then you can just automatically go into the breathing and it will lower the anxiety. And finally, with these tips, exercise. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean going to the gym or doing something like that. It means just moving, do something, go for a walk, go for a run, whatever it is. And it doesn't matter how long or how far, just start to get going. Exercise is really good and it helps to lower anxiety. Yes, some of the most unhelpful things that people can say is pull yourself together, get a grip. And you might reply with, you don't understand. Well, none of those things are helpful. in understanding each other's point of view. You can't make somebody understand what you're going through. However, you can talk to them. So choose who it is you want to talk to, how you want to talk to them, and when. Allow yourself time to talk. Don't just sort of do something when somebody's going out of the house or something like that, or they don't have time. And that way, you'll be listened to. But also, you need to be able to listen in return. Very often when we are feeling anxious, the way that we think is really narrowed, and we just focus in on that. And if we don't hear what we want to hear, or we think we want to hear, we can turn off. So just listen as well. Your friend or partner, whoever it is that you've chosen to talk to, they will want to help. So allow for empathy. You can expect them to show love and compassion towards you, but only if you tell them what's really the problem, how you're being affected, what sort of triggers are, and talk honestly. Don't just assume that they understand, but also don't assume that they don't understand. Just tell them how you feel, etc. The other thing is that they may be anxious themselves about situations, but might express it in a different way. So don't assume that they don't understand. You don't need to apologize for feeling anxious. It's a natural thing. It's a good thing. Remember that talking to a friend or a partner is the first step often in helping you to get better, to feel better about yourself, to feel that you're in control. But be aware that if you keep talking to your friend and don't seem to do anything to resolve the situation, it's a bit unfair on them. They'll want to support you, and they will carry on supporting you, but they're not necessarily equipped. They don't have the knowledge or the resources. They might feel that you're treating them as a therapist, which they're not. But what they will do is help you to take the next step. Professional help. Well, in basic terms, there's no big difference between feeling anxious and suffering anxiety, except the amount of time that you do it and probably the intensity. Feeling a little anxious tends to be limited to a short time or to a specific event. Anxiety or feeling anxious is a normal reaction to many kinds of events, situations. I mean, for instance, if you've got an exam to sit, you might feel a little anxious about it, a driving test, going out, meeting a new person, whatever it might be. But you get over that. It's natural. And anxiety is actually one of nature's ways, our internal way of making us a little alert. And in olden times, and perhaps not so olden times, it helped us with danger and other threats externally or to our bodies or something like that. It's nature's way to help us to survive, to respond to what we see as a danger, an unknown, where we feel we might be slightly out of control. So it's only natural. Everybody has it. Everybody feels it. Experiencing some anxiety is basically an indication that you're human. If you didn't experience any anxiety, then just about all of us have some level of anxiety and worry at some time or other. And some anxiety can be really helpful, and it can motivate us to do things, spur us on. Suffering from anxiety tends to be to do with long-term or chronic anxiety, social anxiety, anxiety disorder, and things of that nature. While people without chronic anxiety can experience manageable stress for a short period of time, often in relation to a specific subject. Those feelings that last longer, much longer, can be more intense, maybe all-consuming. These are what we sort of think of as chronic anxiety, anxiety disorders, to just use a general term. Anxiety is about a sense of control or perceived lack of control over a particular situation. It's a good question. Anxiety and stress are two medical terms that are often interchangeable in everyday language. We sometimes say we're stressed when we're feeling anxious, and we sometimes say we're feeling anxious when we're stressed. But there are differences. Anxiety is normal. It's a normal human feeling in relation to fear or panic. And when we're faced with stressful situations, something that might just come out at us, we can start to feel anxious about it. So that we set off our sort of inbuilt alarm system, which tells us that something isn't quite right and that we need to deal with it. Our brain wants a difficult situation to go away. So it makes us feel alert, stops us thinking about other things. And it even pumps blood to our legs, and our heart pounds, and we might feel heavy. We might feel that we have stomach problems and so on. And in a way, that's because that's when we're in our body is generating a stress reaction to the anxiety we have. Most of us worry sometimes about things like friendships or money, all of these things, and feel anxious when we're under stress, like at exam time. But afterwards we feel calm and we settle down and we feel better. Generally speaking, the term anxiety is used to describe a fearful state of apprehension, worry, or doubt. Anxiety encompasses thoughts, worries, and feelings. And there's often a physical response to that anxiety. The word stress is more often used to describe a physiological response that occurs within a body in response to a perceived threat or danger or difficulty. This response can occur due to anxiety or other pressures or situations in life. I know this is not going to be very helpful, but anxiety can cause stress, and stress can cause anxiety. Simply creating anxiety and worrying about something can easily cause the body to make a physiological change. There are many types of help available. Just going to your GP could be a first port of call. They may treat you with in a medical way by giving you medication, some pills. Or they might refer you to what are known as talking therapies, counseling, psychologists, psychiatrists, psychotherapists, hypnotherapists. There's so many different types of therapists around. You can also access all these things independently and see what they have to offer. And one type of therapy might not work for you, or you might not feel comfortable with it. Anyway, there's plenty around there for you to have a look at. And just go to your local community health centre, go online, see what's available.